Hi, everyone. So, I just wanted to put together this presentation about some things I was just reading on Wikipedia, and you should absolutely read the articles because they are fascinating. But I wanted to trace back the rabbit hole that I personally went on, uh, and hope you enjoy. So, this was today's rabbit hole. Um, the first crazy thing that I learned was that the Mediterranean Sea was filled in apparently between like 6 months and 2 years. Um, it used to look like this image, and then the Zenklian flood happened about 5 million years ago. Um, opening up the Strait of Gibraltar between Spain and Morocco, what is now Spain and Morocco, and it just like rushed in like so fast and filled that whole thing up. Um, That is a crazy thing. That is just crazy. That actually doesn't have much to do with what we're talking about today, but this is just like a little tidbit, a little juicy tidbit. So mainly it's we're talking about ice ages. I was shocked to learn that we are in an ice age now. Um, it seems that ice age just means, are there ice caps and glaciers present on Earth? And the answer is yes. They are on Greenland and Antarctica. We've had a few. The current one's called the Quaternary Ice Age. Um, and yeah, there are these glacial periods where, like, you know, the ice is creeping in and temperatures are dropping, and it's more what you think of as being an ice age. And then there's like these sort of like pauses, but still within the ice age, where the trend is that the glaciers are melting and the temperatures are warming, and that's where we're at right now. So, I mean, this is a very difficult graph to really interpret, but you can see that the time scale here changes. It sort of zooms in as we go further right. Um, so, like, this was, an ice age, and then this was probably another one. I don't remember. I'm not really sure. And then this whole thing is like the current ice age, or I guess starting here is the current ice age. And you can start to see these oscillations between glacial periods. Sorry, glacial periods would be the low temperatures, and interglacial periods are the high temperatures every couple dozen thousands of years. And then this last zoomed in thing shows both the last glacial period and the current interglacial period of warming. And I believe this little blip here is like the human caused global warming. Not to say uh, that that is not significant, and it's obviously just begun, but it also does put it into perspective. But also the rate at which it's happening is, going to be absolutely crazy. I'm not really qualified to talk about any of this, by the way. This is just what I saw on Wikipedia. Feel free to fact check. Another little side note is, my presentation messed up here, but in at least one or more of these ice ages that we've had in the past, apparently many scientists think that the Earth was completely covered in ice, which is kind of fun. That's an artist rendering. Um, okay, jumping back into the current ice age, and actually the current interglacial period, we have what's called the Little Ice Age, which apparently was not an ice age. This was just a period of cooler than average temperatures within the current interglacial period. And it was very recent, ending in 1880. That's only a few generations away. Um, so, yeah, the coldest periods of this quote unquote little ice age caused some big issues in the world, including social unrest due to like famine, disease, and poor, crop yields and stuff. Um, there's some research that shows that the really intense periods of cold were increased, correlated with increased scapegoating of like doing these witch trials, and also Jews, like huge rise in anti-Semitism uh, in this time. And then, which is just crazy, like that the climate can kind of cause these like, I mean, I guess it's not crazy, but people are unhappy and they're looking for someone to blame. Um, and then we've got, um, yeah, contributes to the fall of the Ming Dynasty. You know, people were not happy that their crops were whatever. There was widespread poverty, I assume, because of this stuff, and so governments collapsed. Anyway, you get the idea. It's all there on the screen. Within the Little Ice Age, there was a particularly bad year called the Year Without a Summer, and it actually was not caused really by the like bigger factors of like global warming and cooling. Um, this volcano in Indonesia erupted, which spewed a bunch of stuff into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight and cooling the whole Earth, leading to more chaos. So it to me it is so insane, and you'll see it is so insane that one volcano in um, Indonesia caused like this chaos worldwide, and altered history. I would say, you know, more riots and strife in Europe, causing the most violence since the French Revolution. Apparently, some authors in Europe had to hole up in a cabin together because of the weather, um, like unexpectedly cold weather that year, that summer. And they were like, because they're all authors, they were just having these conversations all the time. And Mary Shelley like woke up one morning having had this dream about this monster, and she's like, okay, like apparently prompted by some of the conversations the night before, and she got the inspiration to write Frankenstein. So the Year Without a Summer basically caused that indirectly, and then similar problems in the U.S. You know, people are not happy. You know, we've seen this pattern. Families fled New England, and you know contributed to like people moving into the Midwest and stuff. Um, One family was the Smiths. They settled in Western New York, and that the Second Great Awakening was happening at the time. Religious fervor, and apparently their young son Joseph, he was a teenager or whatever, was very excited by all this, and he developed some religious ideas of his own in this new place that they took refuge in, and was eventually inspired to found Mormonism, which is so crazy. I don't know if that's crazy to anyone else, but like the fact that this volcano erupted in Indonesia and it caused this like family from Vermont to seek refuge in New York, and which just happened to be like where this religious activity was happening, and their young son was later inspired to like found this like insane cult. I just Everything is connected. I don't know. It's so crazy. Um, yeah, worldwide, you see the sky being hazy and red. I thought these paintings were crazy from the Wikipedia. This one, I mean, you know, this is just one artist. It's not like a scientific, it's not a photo of what the sky looked like. It might have just been his own vibes. But apparently, several artists portrayed the sky as being more blue before the eruption and then more like reddish afterward. And there's writing about like spectacular sunsets in Europe, in the years afterward. So that's wild. Okay, backing up a second, back to the general ice age that we're in, the Quaternary Ice Age. We remember there's the alternating glacial periods and interglacial periods. We're in the interglacial warming period right now. But the last period of cooling was called the Wisconsin glaciation. And that is what you see in black here was all the ice sheets. Obviously today it's just Greenland, but 20,000 years ago it was all of this extending, you know, pretty far down into North America and Europe and Asia. Yeah, so I mean all that ice, that was a lot of Earth's water, and so sea levels dropped. I don't think we really see it. I don't think this map necessarily accounts for it, but you know, the Bering Strait was then exposed, and it allowed humans to walk from Siberia into Alaska and, of course, the rest of the Americas. And that is how the Americas were populated by humanity. Great. So that was also caused by the Ice Age. But what I've always been curious about is what is that hill in Crown Heights in New York City? And this is also caused by the Wisconsin glaciation. So basically, it crept, we saw this map here, it crept all the way down at the maximum extent, almost to the Atlantic Ocean. And it stopped just a couple miles, northwest of the ocean in Brooklyn and Queens. And basically, you have this conveyor belt where the glaciers are picking up debris as they like roll down south through North America, and they drop off all the little grit and dust and dirt and rocks that they pick up, and they dump it just at the very end here, which is this ridge that's formed, and that's why Park Slope here is called Park Slope. And that's also this, basically Eastern Parkway runs east-west along this section of the ridge. And I've always been like, oh, this is such a pain to like bike up and down. It's like both ways you have to, or like getting to Eastern Parkway from the north and the south, you need to go uphill. And then also apparently like in the Revolutionary War, there was something about like the British were coming up from here and like the Americans were hiding behind the hill or something. I'm not sure. I don't really care, but thought that was a nice tidbit. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, I enjoyed sharing my rabbit hole and my learning in this manner, and I hope you enjoyed learning about it too. I will put the Wikipedia pages in the description if that is of interest. I highly recommend reading the one about the year without a summer, 1816. It caused there's a lot of hypotheticals and a lot of speculation, but people are saying like, oh, this led to like the inventor of the bicycle being interested in like ways to transport scarce grain more efficiently, so he had to like invent the bicycle to do this or something. Like, I think it might be speculation, but it's very interesting to think about the currents of history and how everything's connected, from a volcano in Indonesia to the author of Frankenstein and all this stuff. Okay, I've prattled on quite long enough, so have a lovely day wherever you are. Thank you so much.